Now. Okay, it is 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We do need an adoption of the agenda. I will point out the addendum this evening.
Move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt the agenda with the one item on the addendum. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on, 3.0, approval of minutes. Our last board meeting.
Make a motion to approve both the special and regular meetings.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve those sets of minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 4.0, consideration of bills and warrants.
Motion to approve the bills and warrants.
I second it.
Moved and seconded to approve those bills and warrants as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 5.0, hearing of requests and suggestions of citizens and organizations. Do we have anybody that would like to address the board this evening in the crowd? Seeing none, we will move on to 6.0, report of the superintendent of schools.
All right, it is already October, and this is a really busy month. It is National Principals Month, so we've got a great group of admin. We're going to celebrate them tomorrow. We're going to have breakfast. It is also, School Bus Appreciation, Kansas Driver Appreciation Month or week, so we're celebrating them tomorrow as well. I'm going to have breakfast for all of our transportation folks in the morning. It's National Bully Prevention Month, and so that's a part that's really integrated into everything that we do with our social emotional learning. However, during the month of October, they have special activities in the buildings. The counselors have special lessons and activities and things to highlight bullying prevention and, what that actually looks like and how to address it if you see it and how not to be it. So those things are going on. Today was professional development, so students were not in school, but teachers were learning across the district. Our elementary folks had the letters training, which that's that literacy-based, brain-based reading instruction, so they did that all day. Our high school and middle school both had times. One of them had morning, one of them had afternoon. The high-impact strategies, what research says makes a difference in the classroom. The presenter from Greenbush, then they had the opportunity for team meetings, student concern meetings, other meetings this afternoon, department meetings, and this morning. So that's what they did. The 23rd, we're doing it a little bit differently this year. Typically, when we get to the end of the quarter, when the calendar's made, we do that on a Friday, and we dismiss Friday at noon, then do grade cards on Friday, and then the next week do parent-teacher conferences. Last year, the calendar committee thought, okay, wait a minute. When we do that, we usually have activities those Friday evenings, and then we've had kids out all afternoon. It's harder to get kids back, in the afternoon. So what if we just, on that Monday that we were going to start parent-teacher conferences, we dismissed at noon, teachers did grades that afternoon, and then parent-teacher conferences started. And so we're going to give that a whirl. Now, it's grade cards for elementary. Middle school, high school, that's a quarter, and we don't have very many, if any, quarterly grades. We might have a couple. We used to have a couple at the middle school. I don't know if they still do or not. And so for middle school, high school, it's a progress report. It's kind of like temperature. We're taking your temperature, and then a parent's going to know this is where they're at, and then they've got another 9 weeks to get it together to get wherever they want to be. Okay, so we're going to do that. So October the 23rd, that is an early dismissal at noon that day, but we're still going to feed kids, and we're not giving them a meal to take out the door. We're going to sit down and eat that day. We'll dismiss at noon. They'll do grade cards, and then the 23rd, that Monday, everyone will have conferences, elementary, middle school, high school. And then on Tuesday, it'll be middle school and high school. And then on Wednesday, it'll be elementary. And those run from 4:30 to 7:30 each evening in the buildings. Now, parents should have gotten an email with the Sign Up Genius. And so it's a really easy thing to go in and sign up for your conference. And you can sign up for all of your children's conferences, no matter where they go to school, right there on the same template. So you're not making an appointment at Guthridge and then calling to see, well, at Lincoln, we can't do it, or we have to do it on different days to kind of keep it together. So check your emails. If for some reason you didn't get one, or you did it, you think, oh, something came up, I can't do it, call the school. They will be able to make adjustments to that beginning next week. If now you think, oops, I goofed it up, just get back online and do it again. that'll work. So that's how that Sign Up Genius works. And then Matt Peak puts the entire thing together from there and then sends it out. So it has worked very well in the past. So we like to do that. Gives people control over when they meet. What else? So then coming up October the 27th, then that week, or that day, that Friday, school is not in session, and that's a comp day for those two late nights for parent-teacher conferences. The first couple weeks of November are going to be really busy in our office. We have 2 audits that week. The first 2 weeks, we have the CPA audit and the KSDE audit. So Tanya is burning the midnight oil, get all those things ready, because right now we're in a workman's comp audit, which is totally separate, so staying busy. So those are happening the first 2 weeks of November. November the 1st is the candidate forum at the Municipal Auditorium, the Municipal Building, from 6 until 8, and that does include school board members as well. So I'd encourage folks to go to that. And then November the 7th is Election Day, so it's always important, to be informed and to vote. Let's see what else. November 13th, we again do not have school. That is another professional development day. Sometimes it feels like we have a lot of professional development days. We used to have half days, and every month we had a half day. And so a couple years ago, maybe it was just last year, we combined those half days and made them full days because they're more meaningful. You can get more done, staff can stay, on task. So this week, since this came out, we did get notification from the State Department of Ed and from Dr. Watson that we received 2 Kansas CAN awards, which was really exciting. There are 286 school districts in the state of Kansas, and some of those awards you apply for, some are based on the data, and so that for social emotional growth, we got a silver star, and so we were one of 18 school districts in the state, and that was the highest award that was given to anyone. So we were very excited. We moved from a bronze to a silver, which was great. I was proud of the work that we're doing, and we've got the data to show that it's good for kids.
You said we missed the goal by like 1/10 of a point?
No, that was on the Commissioner's
Award. Yeah,
Commissioner's Award, based on post-secondary success, we missed it by
1/10 of 1%. So the Commissioner's Award is a separate award that is given based on a variety of the data and your at-risk factors. And it says you're performing better than is expected based on your at-risk factors. And we were literally 1/10 of 1% away from that award. Not that we were counting, but we were. We sat down and looked at the data. Now, we did get a bronze star for graduation rate. Our graduation rate, the state average was 89.3, and our district average was 91.6 in 2022. So that was good. We continue to grow there. So those were things that were exciting. Ed Workman and his debate group was recognized, the national speech and debate recognized our high school speech and debate. They were named in the prestigious 100 Club based on the ratings they had received last year at different contests, and so that was a big award. And then Lauren Burke, our high school, middle school, elementary orchestra teacher, she was named SEK KMEA, which is Kansas Music Educators Association. She was named Southeast Kansas High School Music Teacher of the Year. And so that was something else to celebrate. We've had a lot of good news lately. And if you've watched KSN, you've seen there's a lot of other good news.
Covered it almost every
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
So did we not also receive that hydroponics grant?
We did. Yes, we did. So we got word from Leafy Green that it was official. They were awarded a grant from DCF, and we were the school in Lebec County that was awarded what we're going to call Viking Farms. And so they came out last week and met with Eric Bortz, our maintenance director, met with with Rob Barkas, also met with the teacher to make sure that we had everything set up, and they would have electricity and water and all of those things. So I'm waiting for finalization and paperwork from Leafy Green, so as soon as we get that paperwork, then things will be signed, but nothing has been signed yet.
So where would that be set up, Lori?
And
It's right out here, I think.
right, yeah, just right out here on the grass.
North of this building, I believe.
Okay.
That was, and that'll be fun. They can grow up to 2 acres worth of greens in this little trailer. So hopefully the end of November, that's kind of what they'd said was about Thanksgiving time was when it was projected to be here.
I also talked to Kelsey Fabricate, the one that's doing this.
She's very excited.
And told her that the First Christian Church, First Presbyterian Church will be getting the greenhouse this week and trying to hook her kids up with Holly, my wife, to be part of that,
To go down there.
if she could work it in somehow.
That would be great, because they do have the community garden at the First Presbyterian Church, and it runs year-round. So, good. So we have those things going on. Also, the last time we met, I didn't have all of that ESSER money allocated, and we do now. So there was $107,642 left, and so we were able to allocate that for math curriculum, because it is time for new math curriculum. And so the instructional coaches and Jeff, they're in the process of reviewing different curriculums. They'll go to Greenbush and spend a day doing that. They will, of course, make a choice based on what's research-based. And so it is currently in secondary review for those ESSER funds, but it does appear that those, have had primary review. I think secondary review will be fine. And that means that we will have allocated and spent, no, we haven't spent it all yet. We will spend it all by September of next year, but that is $7,177,048 between ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and ESSER 3. And so that's been a lot of writing and a lot of quarterly reporting and annual reporting. So the quarterly report on expenditures is due this Friday, the 20th. And so Tanya's working to get those budget reports.
What grade levels is that math curriculum?
And so
Elementary.
that'll be all of our elementary. It'll be K-5. So we've had a recent middle school adoption and high school adoption. So when I became the superintendent, we put everything on a rotation similar to the uniforms. How many years is it before you get a uniform? We did the same thing with curriculum so that we were keeping things up to date. Because what we found is we had some, material that was 20-plus years old. So to make sure that didn't happen, we built a schedule. So that's where we are there. What else did I miss? Oh, the bus driver appreciation. That is, the official day is October 18th, so if you see a bus driver that day, be sure to tell them, thank you, we appreciate what you do. That's, yeah. But we're going to feed them tomorrow morning as well, so when they come in from their routes, they'll have a home-cooked breakfast to let them know we appreciate what they do. Couldn't do it without them, really. And our bus drivers are busy. And so we appreciate, long hours. They're early in the morning, they have a little break in midday, but then a lot of them have activities, and our buses are moving. for taking
Well, and we're
those
lucky to
places.
have enough bus drivers, too.
We really are.
That's a lot of districts do not.
Yep, we are.
Okay, any other questions for Ms. Ray? Okay, moving on to 7.0, report on the October Tri-County Board meeting.
It was not very much on the agenda. We did the tour of the Education Center, and then we had reports from the coordinators for Caney, Independence, and Coffeyville, which included an autism diagnostic team report, and we approved the changes to the Tri-County interlocal practices. That was it.
Thank you very much. 8.0, district behavior data, Mr. Pegues.
Okay, so kind of sticking with the trend, I've given you a lot of data lately as we've gone through the walkthrough data. We did student achievement last year in the small special setting. State and national data following the pandemic has shown large increases in behavior incidences everywhere. It's a big topic if you've read about it. I think as kids were inside a lot and didn't have a lot of social interaction, sometimes they're struggling in social settings following the pandemic, and we're seeing that. So I just wanted to be full transparent and show what challenges we're seeing, what trends we're seeing, and kind of how we're handling those and how those look. Also in the data is also some attendance data as we continue to know that's an issue and are working to tackle that. We also share this data with admin weekly, who in turn share this with their staff, so we are in constant aware of what trends we're seeing and how we need to adjust to those challenges that we're seeing behaviorally in our schools. You can see overall on the first page, and I'm not going to go through it too much, I'm just going to highlight some, that we did see an increase in behavior referrals compared to last year. That's kind of a snapshot of August and September of what we've seen. Now, in that data, you can kind of look at what's trending up, what's trending down. You're going to see a large increase in level 1 behaviors, and I think a large part of that is in talking with our admin to start the year, we wanted to really emphasize intentional supervision. We thought we had way too many violent instances the last couple of years, so we needed to emphasize intentional supervision, especially at high incident times, which is your lunch times and your passing periods and locker rooms and types of things that we know that, a little horseplay happens from time to time. So we need to be intentional about that supervision. Lunchrooms as well. So you're going to see when you increase your supervision, you're going to catch more of those level 1 infractions, say maybe a profanity or horseplay or disruptive behavior. So you're going to see increases in those areas, but you're also going to see decreases in those areas that we've kind of targeted. Violent instances are down. When you combine the battery and the fighting incidences, there's over 50% reduction in those violent instances, so that's something that's really positive in the data that we've seen. Vaping is an issue also, state, national, that we've been dealing with for a couple years now, and those numbers are also trending down at this point when you look at those. On kind of the second page of data, and I know it was a lot of data, I kind of overdo the data usually, but you can kind of take what you want with it. I think some interesting things. Percentage of students who have a behavior referral. 87% of our kids don't have any behavior referrals. So we're not talking about a large portion of our kids that are misbehaving. It's about 10% that are repeat offenders that we are dealing with those behavior matrices, and the restorative practices I think are really positive. Obviously, getting the silver award for social emotional, that's a big piece of it, is how we're handling these behavior incidents and making it a teachable moment with our students. So the number of kids that are on track in behavior and how Panorama breaks that down is 90% district-wide, so that looks really positive. Out-of-school suspensions are a little bit up, but in-school suspensions are also down. So the amount of time kids are out of class and suspensions is about the same as it was last year. I actually went through, I thought the numbers were a little high, and I read through every referral that resulted in a student being out of school suspended, and they were valid reasons. So I think our administrators are doing a good job in assessing those things. You'll see referrals for horseplay are high. That's one discussion we've had with the middle school. We need to address horseplay so it doesn't turn into violent instances, because middle school, that's usually where it starts.
Right, it
is a
starts out
horseplay
there playing
incident.
around and then somebody gets mad.
That's exactly right. Last year, we saw a large increase in disrespect. Couldn't really address why, but that number has come back down as well. And I talked about the violent instances the last couple of years, and you can kind of see the data there. Attendance is obviously a really another issue that state and national districts are scrambling around to increase your attendance and reduce your chronic absenteeism numbers. So we have a chronic absenteeism task force that we meet, and we break down this data as well with the administrators. And we saw those trends even continue to increase last fall. So we created that task force and put some things in the spring, incentive-wise, support-wise. Christina Mayhew and Robin Thomas do a great job in addressing a lot of those things, and we saw those numbers go down. So we're actually trending in the right way. With the chronic absenteeism, we saw a 4% reduction last year. Right now, that is on down 13%. So we're trending in the right direction on the chronic absenteeism, and a lot of those incentives are working. We're going to continue to monitor that, though, and see if we need to make changes as we go through. As we talk about chronic absenteeism, I think when people hear that and the increases, they think middle school and high school kids, and it's not actually the case. When you look at the data broken down by grade level, the last couple of years, our worst percentages are at the primary level. So these are kindergarten, first grade, second grade, where our percentages are the worst. And that's really alarming when that foundational education is being taught. So important for our kids to be there, and they rely on the parents to get them there. So that's another issue sometimes. So, but as you can see, this year, especially at the primary level, those numbers are increasing. So I think some of the incentive things that the grade schools are doing really working. Just to highlight a couple buildings showing huge growth, Garfield and the middle school, when you look at their numbers broken down in attendance, are really, really performing well. So we like to see that. And you can see, I added in, this came out on Friday, so it wasn't in what was sent to you on Friday. Daily attendance rate compared to the state, we're right there with the state. Considering our at-risk factors, we feel pretty good about our daily attendance rate, and we feel like that's going to continue to go up. Obviously, with the district that has the diversity that we have, we need to also look at behavior and attendance broken down by race and ethnicity. You look at the national trends, African-American students are suspended at about a 2-to-1 rate of white students nationally. So we want to make sure that we're monitoring that data and make sure that's not the case here in Parsons. And as you can see, our African-American population make up 9.5% of our population, but only account for, find it here,
Was it like 9.1?
3% of our out-of-school suspensions. Obviously, 2 or more races is a little bit high, but not alarming rate at that point there. But you can kind of see how those percentages and different referrals are broken down by race and ethnicity, and that is constant awareness data that we're going to look at with our admin and with our staff as we go through. And I think it's that trend of using data to make improvements in our systems and how we're helping kids. So I know it's a lot thrown at you. You had a lot of homework of math to look at there. So there are questions that I can answer for you.
So, after talking to Dennis Dodd and Chief Spinks, you threw out the statistic, 13% of our kids basically are repeat offenders? Is that right?
We'll have a behavior incident. 13% of our students have at least one behavior incident.
Okay, so like Spinks and Dennis Dodd said, there's about 100 people in this town that cause most of the problems. So that reflects what's going on in the community.
Yeah.
Now, explain to the general public, what's a level 1 offense? What does that mean?
Right. Level 1 offense is not, it would be something like disruptive behavior, a cell phone incident, a dress code, something that we would consider minor that would even a lot of times the first instance that be handled in the classroom and not even sent to the office. So they're not as severe behavior would be level 1.
How many levels are there?
There's 4 levels in our handbooks.
Can you put those numbers associated with the behavior in the future, not on this one, go
Sure,
back, but in
yeah.
the future, just put a parenthesis, which
Yeah,
level it is?
absolutely could. Or I could give you the discipline matrix too, that sometimes would be helpful and see how we're responding to those behaviors. But
You're
yeah.
wanting more data?
I'm just saying to define.
I could always do more
Jeff
data.
really wants to give it.
It's a
No,
joke.
I'm actually
It's a joke.
defining,
I understand what you want. Yeah, we're good. I'm just
defining.
clarifying
Absolutely.
who was asking for more data.
So do you have the data on
This is good.
socioeconomic status and behavioral issues?
More data again.
It's not broken down like that in Panorama. That would be a little
Wonder
bit more
why.
difficult. Huh?
I would make a prediction, but I wonder why it's not broken down like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why. I think it's probably the individual, I don't know. I don't know how it doesn't pull like that. That's a good question, though.
Any other questions for Mr.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to 9.0, action to accept donations to schools.
Okay, this is on page 49 in your packet. There was a donation to the district office from Annette Tucker, unrestricted $20. Lincoln Elementary had a donation from PTO, a restricted donation for parent-teacher conference meals valued at $200. Garfield Elementary had 3 PTO donations, 1 restricted for the second grade swag store, 1 restricted for third grade testing at $500, restricted parent-teacher conference meals at $175. There was an unrestricted donation from Wesley United Methodist Church at Garfield for $447.94, for a total of $1,622.94 at Garfield. At Guthridge, PTO made a restricted donation for 4th graders to go visit the Caney Zoo, $500. Parsons Middle School Gentiva made a restricted donation for football T-shirts, $500. Rotary Club made a restricted donation for attendance awards, $600, for a total of $1,100 at the middle school. Parsons High School at Labette Bank made a donation for the softball scoreboard at $250. Commercial Bank made a $1,000 donation for the softball scoreboard. Bowen Pharmacy made a $500 donation for the softball scoreboard. And there was an anonymous donation to the Garden Club for $29. Total of $1,779 at the high school, for a total district donation, $5,221.94. So we appreciate generous donors each month, and I recommend that you approve those donations.
Move to accept the donations.
Okay, moved and seconded that we approve those donations. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 9.1, action to approve the new accounting Software Unlimited.
All right, okay, so last year, at the very end of the year, towards the end of the year, Greenbush made that decision that they were going to discontinue support of the MAP software, which is what we've used for as long as, 24 years, so a long time. And so a lot of the program was old and is outdated, and in 24 years, a lot of things changed. So Greenbush was no longer going to support that, and so they basically said, oh, here's some options, get to looking, and make a decision. And so Tanya and Ben did research and had meetings with different groups, and they had Zoom calls and looked at the research, and looked at the different things that were offered, and felt like Software Unlimited was the best match for our district, the size of our district and what we needed. It is one of the two options that will be supported by Greenbush, and it also has 24-hour support. Isn't that what you were saying?
Yes, the support piece and the training piece are really key for us.
Right. And so we're not ready to go live with this now, but Tanya wanted to bring it. We wanted for you to adopt it. It isn't something that there was a cost sheet in your view, so you'll notice it wasn't anything that needed to be bid out. It was less than $10,000 a year, so it wasn't anything that even needed board approval. I think it was $5,500 a year. So Tanya's here if you've got any questions about that. Otherwise, I would recommend that you approve the new accounting Software Unlimited.
So you're comfortable with that, right?
I'm very comfortable. We've done a lot of research. I'm very comfortable.
Move to approve.
Second.
Move to approve the Software Unlimited package. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 9.2. Yep, very welcome.
All right.
Action on the policy JGFGA, Administration of Emergency Opioid Antagonists.
And this is basically like Narcan, which is something you've probably heard of, but that is one of the opioid antagonists. Now, KASB had made this recommendation this summer. It was included in their regular policies. We had tabled it. The group that we work with for health was working on a policy that has not come to fruition yet, and I think it's important that we go ahead and move forward. We have the policy so that we have this medicine available. We will work with CHCSCK and our local police department to make sure that this is available in each of the buildings and that people are appropriately trained. And so this is the policy that KASB recommended. It's on page 50 through 52 in this packet. It also gives there's also an instruction sheet. So you need you to approve the policy, but also if there were ever an incident, that form is included in here as well as a part of the policy to be filled out. So.
This is a really good policy.
How
I'll
many-
move to approve this.
How many
Sorry.
people did you envision being trained at each building?
I've talked to Dennis Dodd, and they're willing to just train whoever would like to be trained. So we definitely want all of the nursing staff to be trained, and the office staff and administrators. And, we have crisis teams in each building, and so it might be that they are trained. And it could be that on the day we have differentiated, professional development, anyone can sign up, and that be something that they offer in one of those 40-minute sessions.
So that's about how long it takes
Yeah.
to be trained? Yeah.
So, and I envision this in the future to become something similar to the AED training, where everyone is trained every year, comes out on a video, you watch
Yeah.
it, you practice it, just just so that everyone is aware. We hope we never, ever have to use it. But we need also to
We
be
need it in
cognizant
the
of those
building.
things happen in
Yeah.
society. And it's better to be prepared. So,
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve that emergency opioid policy. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 9.3, action on policy JBC regarding enrollment.
okay, so this is on pages 53 through 55 of your handbook, or of what feels like a handbook. Your agenda, does it feel like a handbook? It was a lot of paper this time. So this was something that was also sent out in July. This policy is the same enrollment policy that we have had, with the exception of non-resident students. That chunk of the policy has been removed, because now there's a new statute that requires non-resident students to have a policy all their own, which is something we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But this is for the typical enrollment, regular enrollment for those that live in our attendance boundaries that we've had for a number of years. So, do you have any questions on that policy, 53 through 55?
Explain that part about a student who's homeschooled a student that's in school is flunking, and then he goes, or she goes to be homeschooled, and all of a sudden the parent comes up with a paper to the school district and says, hey, the kid's doing fine, let him back in. You explain that they could do that one time, and then the second time, they couldn't do that. Is that?
Okay, now,
Are you talking about an in-district student?
so an in-district student, no matter how many times mama pulls them out and then says they're doing fine and brings them back, we are required, because they live within our attendance boundaries, to accept them.
Okay.
So now there is something new with Keisha, and so is that what you're talking about?
It could be.
Maybe, yeah, because those,
Most of homeschooling.
and that is,
eligibility for athletics.
that's eligibility for athletics, like if a kid were not doing well in school
Yeah.
and they were pulled out, and then the parent said, oh, no, they're doing fine,
Yeah.
here's my little note, I want for them to play, then Keisha they've got a form that you fill out.
They have to complete a form,
Right.
and the only thing the school has to do is say, yes, they live in our boundaries. The Activity Association reviews it, says yes or no, and they're eligible again.
So that is a new Keisha thing. This year.
Because of state law.
Right, there's a whole lot of things because of state law that we've,
So this is, the only thing we're doing here is modifying JBC to exclude
Non-
the out-of-district students,
Right.
which will be part of JBCC.
that is correct.
Okay, all right. So,
Move to approve.
Second.
moved and second to approve the new JBC enrollment policy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 9.4, we have initial discussion here on the open enrollment policy,
Right.
JBCC, and then we need to set a hearing date.
Right, okay, so this is the new policy that is required by, and let's go through and look, I've got the number in case you were wondering what statute that was.
This is not in our
What's
information.
No, it was included in the view
Yeah,
last week, the new policy
and we're
was.
going to talk about it in more detail, though, when we have that
Right,
hearing.
when we have the
Yep,
hearing.
Yep.
And so, really, the way it works is this. With this new policy, it's also been called open enrollment. So you may have heard it as open enrollment, but the official name is enrollment of non-resident students. And so then it's policy JBCC instead of just JBC. The way it's going to work this first year is it's literally open enrollment. We can't tell anyone they can't come, no matter where they live or don't live.
Are you saying right now? Or
For
in
next school year.
Okay.
For this, for next school year. Right now, we still have what we've had forever. If you're a non-resident student, you fill out a request, and then if you are a student in good standing, and we look at things like your attendance, your behavior, other reports, you may or may not be allowed to attend. And if we have programs that are full, if there's a special program that currently is full, and you request to come, then I've been able to say, according to policy, we don't have the people, we don't have the resources, we don't have the program, or you're not considered a good student in good standing based on behavior or attendance. Okay? And so this year, we've had a few students that have applied. We had one student that applied, did not live in our attendance boundaries, had 35 pages of discipline referrals. That's not a student in good standing. We had another student that had 37 pages of discipline referrals, not a student in good standing. And this year, we were able to say, not a student in good standing, you're not able to come. The way the new statute is written, the first year, we don't get to say that.
Unless we're at capacity. correct?
Unless we are at capacity. So, but the board does need to think about and decide, because after the first year, if we're not at capacity and we take those students, after the first year, then there are some possibilities for students not in good, so if a student tries to return and they're not in good standing, based on whatever the board decides.
How do you define capacity?
Well, that's a really good question. How do you define
Elementary will be
program?
easier.
Well, and that,
Right.
Secondary will be more.
so, yeah, secondary is where there's going to be programs. So let's say, and this has been a really one that's been there's been a lot of questions and a lot of legal, every week when the superintendents meet, they're asking these questions. For example, our Tri-County Special Ed Behavior Day School program. There's only 20 slots in that program, and Parsons pays for 12. And if we are already at 12, and someone applies and their child has an IEP that requires that kind of setting, the program we have is full.
That's capacity.
It's at capacity.
That one's
Now,
easy to
let me be
define.
real clear, special ed is never at capacity. That is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying there's a limit on that. There's not. There are programs, though, where those limits are. Or we could say our welding class. So we offer 3 welding classes. There's this many welders. We don't take more than 20 kids in a class. So then that would be the capacity of that program. Or something like FACS, or the program capacity, those numbers are more at secondary. But then there's classroom numbers that we have to determine elementary-wise. Now,
And secondary for core classes.
for core classes, yeah, it's just a little trickier, I think.
Yeah.
So if you have a student coming in that, let's say, has 37 behavior
Pages.
pages, and they just want to come here and they don't care, we know that they have to have the core classes, but they just want to come. So is there a capacity for that? And like if the core classes
I
are
think,
at
I
capacity,
think we would
that
have
would
to
be
set the capacity on the core classes, and if we're
Okay.
not at that, we would have to take
Yeah.
them.
Do we have a capacity for elementary school, like a cap per classroom?
That's what we'll have to discuss.
So we have talked about that in the past.
Tried for years.
And the board has, now, that will not be,
Negotiations.
that's not going to be a policy. That won't be a part of this policy. That'll be a discussion that we have, but that's going to be a process or a procedure in how we administer and run the buildings. That's not a policy. The policy is that we will have a capacity, and that, there could also be policies like the board could say, the student's attendance, record, they exceeded so many unexcused absences in a year, and so then, they're not eligible because they're not a student in good standing with attendance. Or you could say they had this many out-of-school suspensions in a year, and that makes them not eligible as a student in good standing,
To return the following.
to return the following year. That's why it's really, really important that people are informed and they vote. Because people in Topeka made this policy up, and I don't know who they talked to at school about how it would impact schools, because they've also given a timeline for when these things have to be done. And one of the timelines, and I gave that to you in one of the previous views. I've tried to chunk it, so I went back and looked, and in 6 different views, there have been chunks of this, because it is a lot. One of those is that by July 15th, we will notify those non-residents if they've been accepted or not. Typically, we don't even start our own in-district enrollment until about that time. And the reason being is that the state and the federal government release paperwork the home economic survey, the free and reduced lunch application, they typically release those the first week of July. And that's a part of the enrollment. So we're gonna,
Well, we shrank through the years dramatically, so it's
Right.
difficult to envision that we have a capacity issue.
Right, that's just what I
Because
was.
if we have 50 extra students that apply and want to come, well, then we'll have to hire more staff. I mean, that's the reality of it. So,
and right,
The classroom size
yeah.
is the factor that will
Yeah.
affect the
There
elementary.
could be some growing pains,
and our-
but,
And some of our core classes, that we don't have room
yeah.
for 50 kids.
more kids, that is right. Right now,
Is it true that they have hired someone who's going to come around and inspect the schools on capacities?
now that I don't know. I don't know where they would find that person. We can't even,
So.
but maybe.
So make sure I understand the plan is, so within the next couple of months, you're going to be working on this further, and that's where we have this hearing, and we'll be talking more about JVCC, because we talked about having that like December, right?
Right, and because that's the new requirement, the law requires that we have a policy in place by January.
Yeah.
And so this was just to talk about what was included in your view
Yeah.
last week, where it gave you some possibilities for attendance and possibilities for behavior, and then all of that information. KASB wrote a policy that they said, here's a policy for non-resident students. But there are areas in there that we can address for what a student in good standing looks like in Parsons.
Specific. yeah.
Specific things that matter to us, that are important, and those are things reflective in a child's attendance, their behavior, possibly some academic stuff. You got to be real careful there. But at the same time, if a student comes and gets started and earns no credit, and then the next year wants to come back, if they haven't made
Progress.
acceptable progress towards graduation, or their IEP goals, or just promotion, it seems like that wouldn't be a student in good academic standing.
We'll be learning with this,
Yes,
like anything else.
So this comes under the school choice umbrella,
that's,
right?
Yep. So we'll see what happens.
So explain about the transportation, Lori, please.
about the transportation. Okay, so the transportation rules, are you talking about the rules that have changed
Yeah,
this
that
year?
have changed, yeah.
Okay, well, and this year, right now, you can drive in another school district's boundaries and pick students up. In the past, that was never a thing. We had our 91 square miles, and if somebody drove in, Rick was gonna find them and catch them and call them. And they weren't supposed to do that unless they had prior approval. And there were exceptions that we made, just because we're reasonable human beings. Now, it's not required for a neighboring district or for any school district to say, hey, we're coming in your boundaries. Now, they are legally supposed to fill out a paper still that has the student's name, their address, and their grade level. So like, we're gonna pick these kids up from your school. We've always gotten that if other districts took our students and transported them. But now they are able to drive within our boundaries and pick students up.
And we can go elsewhere.
And we can do the same thing.
Okay. So the only thing we need on this 9.4 is just
We-
we're going to set the hearing for right before the December meeting, or at the
That is-
beginning of the December meeting.
That would be my recommendation. At the regular December
Yep.
meeting,
Yep.
do it there,
Yep.
have that hearing.
Okay.
So,
So we just need a motion then to approve a hearing date, which is equivalent to our
But,
regular
You
board meeting.
need a date, specific date, or just say before the December board meeting?
Was that the 18th? Isn't our board-
our board meeting is on the 18th.
Yeah, December 18th.
Let me
board
make
meeting.
sure.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we have the hearing on December the 18th at 6 PM.
Second.
Moved and seconded to have that open enrollment policy hearing date, December 18th, 6 PM. All those in favor say aye. Okay, 9.5, action to revise policy 5350 regarding classified staff handbook.
Okay, so here's what we found, a couple things. In conversations with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and Amanda can testify to this, she spent a lot of time doing insurance as of late. What we have always done in the past, for as long as anyone can, long before any of us got there, is that if a classified staff member left, let's say, November the 5th, their insurance ended the following month, the end of the month. So they left in November and they had insurance through the end of December. Well, it's not supposed to be that way. And so our policy was incorrect, the way in which it was written, and so we got different information from Blue Cross and Blue Shield because they called and said, hey, wait, what are you doing here? And we called Greenbush because our policy is administered through them, and this is what we need to do. We need to change that, amend that handbook so that it says all insurance coverage will be effective through the last month in which
Last day.
employment ends.
Yeah, last day of that month.
The last day of that month.
Yeah.
Right, so if employment ends December the 7th, then the end of December, insurance ends. If employment ends December the 31st, so does the insurance, because it's the end of the month. So it has to be effective the last month
That's the way
after the last day.
place I've ever seen this, so.
Right.
So all this time, we were giving everybody an extra month?
Yeah, we're
Well,
unique.
we weren't giving them anything because our program is pay ahead, so they were already paying for the insurance. I mean, it was costing the district the little bit of whatever the
They had
difference
an
might
extra
have
month to go
been.
find insurance, though. is
But
the
they
deal.
did,
Yeah.
which really was what's best for people,
Yeah,
but that's not what's best for business. And that's not what, and when Blue Cross Blue Shield found out we were doing it, they were like, oh, wait, you're not supposed to do it that way. And we're like, we've done it that way. I don't know, I mean,
So that's the only change in this policy.
so that's the only change, is to change the.
Cease date, yeah.
The cease and desist date, so.
How should they do this? How should they?
Motion to approve the modification to policy 5350 with the amended recommended verbiage.
Second?
And moved and seconded to revise policy 5350. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 9.6, action to approve national background check.
Okay,
Consent form.
so the consent form is included on page 58 in your packet, and this is the form that we would have people fill out. To do a Kansas State background check, we don't have to get consent. We can do one of those without someone signing something. In order to do a federal background check, we do need to have their signature that they are willing to allow us to do that. If they're not willing to sign the form to allow us to do that, that's not something we're interested in employing anyway, in my opinion. But it is something that we do need for the board to approve the form, so that when we hire people, they will consent to that particular agreement and sign it before being officially hired. So I'd recommend that you approve that form. That was a form that was sent to us by KASB.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the national background check consent form. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 9.7, executive session. How much time do you need tonight?
Probably 10 minutes.
Okay. Does any board members have anything they would like to discuss? Seeing none, hearing none. So do you need a motion for executive session then? 10 minutes?
Move that we go into executive session for 10 minutes?
Second to that?
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded that we enter executive session to discuss confidential employee information pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under COMA and the exception for employee-employer negotiations under COMA at 6:48 for 10 minutes. We'll return back to this meeting room at 6:58. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, we're back in open session here. We're moving to 9.8, action on personnel.
All right, so we've got recommendations for employment. Kendra Barkus, High School Technology Students Association sponsor, that's TSA, sponsor effective the 23-24 season. Patsy Britton, part-time evening custodian, effective September 19th. Adam Brubaker, bus driver, effective October the 9th. Roger Bynum, bus driver, effective September the 26th. Mary Fries, high school hostess sponsor, effective the 23-24 school year. Megan Fugate, High School Technology Student Association sponsor, effective the 23-24 season. Kyle Hostetter, middle school head golf coach, effective the 24 season. Jacob Martinez, high school dramatics assistant, effective the 23-24 school year. Trudy Peak, Title I aide at St. Pat's, effective September 18th. Pierce Thomas, high school fall and spring weights, effective the 23-24 season. Derek Williams, high school fall and spring weights, effective the 23-24 season. Chelsea Brinson, Lincoln behavior support aide, effective October the 17th of 23. So I recommend that you approve all of those folks for employment.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and second to approve those employments. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we have 2 resignations for employment.
Yeah.
Yes, I
she
did.
got the
That was
addendum.
Chelsea Brinson.
Yep.
Yep.
We're good.
Resignation from employment, Roger Daniels, bus driver, effective October the 6th, 2023, and Jeff Scheibe, high school fall and spring weights, effective October the 9th, 2023. Recommend that you approve those resignations.
So moved.
Second.
And moved and second to approve those resignations. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. No further business. We are adjourned. Thank you.